We are here with another session of Beyond MarTech. Today we have Prakhar Bhartiya. I will let Prakhar introduce himself in a bit. But in short, if I were to share, he's one of the few people who's trying to do something practically, trying to do something about democracy. We hear a lot of things about democracy and we hear a lot of things about politics and politicians and good and bad both. But I think here is one person who's trying to do something by staying in, but at the same time staying out of politics and still trying to make an impact in democracy in India. Uh, it's been a very, very interesting journey. I have known Prakhar for about 15 years now, Prakhar, I think. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a long journey with Prakhar. Obviously, we've had our shares of ups and downs, and I think what he's evolved into is something all of us really get inspired whenever we meet him once in a while, usually on Diwalis in our hometowns in Kanpur. And something, all of us, even if he's not there, when the group meets there back home, we're all discussing him, how great he's doing and what all he's done and what impact he's creating basically in the society. So, some great stuff that he's been doing and that we'll come to hear in our conversations in a bit. But yeah, something to really, look forward to and someone really to get inspired from. I think it was a very good idea when I figured that, okay, he could be, on one of our talks here. So welcome, Prakhar. I am really honored to have to speak to you today. Okay, let's get into this. I want to hear from you right away, right off the bat. What's been your journey? You have been a engineer, I think IT engineer,
इलेक्ट्रिकल
electrical
आईटी
engineer.
आईटी आशिता की थी तो मैं उसकी क्लास के आसपास रहता था अक्सर
हाँ, मुझे वही
तो
याद है, तुम आईटी में ही दिखते थे एनीवे. Ashita
मेरी
is his college girlfriend who he eventually married. Now they're together. So anyway, Hanji. So electrical engineer to changing some pieces of democracy in India today. Tell me about your journey.
Thank you so much, Abhinav sir, Suma, everyone else over here for indulging. I'll briefly share. Is Hindi also fine with the group? Hindi and English mix of it. Is there anyone who doesn't understand Hindi in the group? No one.
There's one guy,
सबको समझ
Basil.
में आती है?
Basil does not get. I think the others get. So yeah, but he can understand a little bit. So yeah, no, once in a
I'll
while.
be nice. Yeah. Just checking the group because sometime in a flow I usually go in Hindi. So yeah, that's why checking the group. So I think we both come from like Avinash sir. I also come from Kanpur. He was senior to me in the engineering college we were part of, and a lot of time people used to say at that time, "Yeah, college is not good" and all those things. And my response would be, "Ki we are in the college we deserve. If we deserved a better college, we would have gone there. But this is what we deserved at that moment." And I think I made a good sense of college, and I think a lot of learning from college. And as we were talking yesterday, and I said that I think one of my foundational learning happened in the college I was. No matter there was no civil society, no NGO active over there, but for me, I think mobilizing people for the fest to getting things done through faculty. I think a lot of learning happened over there. And I think it was in college that I first time got my own calling that I don't want to go into. At that time, I used to call it assembly line, and I want to get into more something which is different, which is much more meaningful. So I sat out of placement in the final, whatever few companies used to come. I sat out of the placement, and I think I resolved to join a non-profit. So I applied for a couple of places, and 2009 I got through Teach for India Fellowship, which was I think one important milestone for me. That was the first year Teach for India came to India, and they selected me. Before that, I don't know, sir, if you know this. I was interning at IIT Kanpur on some transformers with some professor, and the first 2 weeks I felt this is completely bullshit. I don't want to understand what transformer is. And with full clarity, I went back after 3 weeks of internship, and my family was shocked that people don't get to work with a professor, and you're working over there from an average college. Rather, it is not making sense to me. I don't want to understand what is transformer, how it works, and all those things. And I remember first time when I thought about Youth Alliance, it was June 2008, between my final year and pre-final year, that summer break. And at that time, I wrote a lot. And I think I usually had a habit of, I think, reading and writing a lot, not reading so much, but writing a lot. So I wrote like some 3 pages of how the country should be. And I think, sir, if you remember, I used to be someone who talks about an abstract idea about philosophy, how the country should be, how the society should be. And so I wrote like big vision about multiple
Yeah.
things.
Most of us used to say, ये नेता कहाँ से आ गया है?
So yeah, so I think so that was the genesis for me of Youth Alliance, and the simple idea was there's so many young people in my college, around 2,000 people over there. All of Many of them are very sharp also, but none of them know exactly what to do with their life. And my I think core idea of Youth Alliance became at that time: can I connect young people who have idealism in their heart in early 20s with what's happening outside? So can I take them to remote areas? Can I make them see the reality of the world is very different and your skill can be useful? And I think that was one big thought, that I don't want to go into IT assembly line or do MBA and go on that track, because that's a very, in my word at that time, I'm very cautious because I know there are people who are in IT and they are working in corporate. But at that time, my lens was ki this is a very narrow way of thinking about life. There's so much else outside in the world, but our education system makes us think in a way that everything that you're defined by is by your pay package. And I think that became a huge question for me. So I joined Teach for India Fellowship that year only. I did some things in final year in college. Uh, my director, sorry, the college owner was a private hardcore bania, but I don't know how I was able to mobilize around 2 lakh rupees from him for the cozy flood in 2008. There was a massive flood that happened. And I think that was a big win for me. As a person in a student, as a student in a college, I was able to convince him to donate, and every faculty in the college donated 1 day's salary. A lot of them also said multiple things to me: because of you, we have to give our 1 day salary. But I was at like very calm, and I think I felt that small victory in that moment. It is possible if you stay at it for 2 3 months. People were ready. I still remember me and a couple of my friends. I went to each hostel room across the college to collect 5 rupees, 10 rupees. And I think we raised somewhere around 35 40,000 rupees in chiller, and went and deposited to whatever the bank account was there for the CM Bihar fund. So I think those were very small things that were able to that happened during college. It made me a lot of, I think, which gave me energy. And why I'm sharing this small thing, because I think that's where the spark came in for me, that it is possible that I can also do something about it. So then Teach for India came, joined Teach for India Fellowship. I think that became a very important part. I think two things that I learned from Teach for India. One was I was a teacher for full-time class of 52 kids of grade 3. And I think one key learning for me was that I have to practice what I'm saying to my kids. I can't do something else in my life and say something to my kids in the classroom. So if I'm saying to them that you have to be on time to school, I have to consistently. Discipline became a very important part of my lifestyle. I have to be there at 6:45 a.m. in the morning. That I have to listen. If I'm saying listen to each other, I have to first listen to what they are saying, what is happening in the classroom. So I think I think one discipline, second practice what you preach. Those two became very important value for me in my class. And by the time Teach for India Fellowship ended, I also had more clarity that I want to build Youth Alliance further, which started like a volunteer organization. So 2011 post fellowship, we started building it with a very clear idea that I want to take young people to remote rural part to do three things, especially. One is getting them to see multiple realities of India before they settle down with their career. Can in early 20s they see कि भारत की need क्या है, हमारे लोग चाहते क्या हैं, before they just think about their own personal life, personal thing. Second was, can we change the role models? So the role models that we have at engineering or any most colleges are either the big billionaires or the some Hollywood or cricket stars. We don't have people who have done something significant in development space, or like people like Prakash Amte or Anshu Gupta or Shaheen Mistry. They are not seen as role models. So for me, I think that was one important thing. Can I shift the whole narrative of role models? Can Shaheen Mistry become a role model for a 20-year-old girl, and her aspiration will change? Because just now, for a 20-year-old engineering student, the role models are Azim Premji and Tatas and Elon Musk and all those people. So, which is good to have, वो भी होना चाहिए. But can we have more new role models? The second was giving young people access to people like Ravi Bhaiya is talking about, or Anshu Gupta or Shaheen Mistry, these kind of people. And then third was, can you start thinking about what is your own purpose in life? So how do we start connecting to why am I even existing? So it's a very existential question, which I think sometimes we die on, we don't know. And I also don't know exactly why am I there on this planet, but I think there's some hunch. And I think slowly can we start that inner journey towards walking towards my purpose. So those three things were the core idea of Youth Alliance. Did that for 8 years, and I think saw a lot of. I think we used to work in small groups only because mentoring was a very important part of the program. That we want to stay connected with people who wanted to walk on that path. So I think that remained there. I think more than 35 new organizations have come out of Youth Alliance. A lot of them working in remote areas in like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, rural Uttar Pradesh. तो वो I think एक बहुत I think hope दिखर के आया. Second thing that I was also seeing is that my premise was that a lot of change that will happen in the society won't come from the elite background. It will come from lower middle class or middle class people who have transitioned in their lifetime from extreme lack of resources to basics in place. Because they've experienced this, they will bring in the change. So Youth Alliance का ज्यादातर जो crowd होता था वो या तो lower middle class होगा या middle class people who can afford that to like experiment with their life. So that was there. So I think that became a huge success for me. I think more than 300 alumni of Youth Alliance are working in development sector full time with people like P. Sainath, who runs this Pari network with farmers, with Bezwada Wilson, who works on manual scavenging, with weavers, artisans, with farmers. So that I think became a huge uh, point for me that it is possible. And I think with that churning, this whole thought came in, can we do something similar in politics? So in 2016, I started thinking, can we do something similar in terms, can we redefine public leadership when it comes to politics? So that became, I think, the next quest. And by the time 2017, 18, Youth Alliance also, Sashank and other people were there. There was enough leadership within the organization that I can move out. And I've always believed that I should never be part of a organization for more than a decade. If I'm heading something which is core on leadership, then if I can't generate leadership within my organization, then it's a big question mark on my own leadership ability. So, like in ISG, also in the Institute of Democracy, I'm very clear that I don't want to be here after 8, 9 years of running the organization, maybe a decade, not more than that. And so 2018 started my transition plan, moved out, and in the meantime, was talking to multiple people. Himakshi, who was at that time, I think, studying at Harvard Kennedy School, and I shared the idea. She got excited, and I said, "Why don't you come back and let's start this?" So she said that, "I want to learn systems." And she was with BCG for a while, and then she quit BCG, and then we started 2018 Indian School of Democracy. And with a basic premise: can we have leaders who have moral courage and imagination, not the ones which we see, but someone maybe the ones who fought our independence movement. They had a very different idea of India. They had a very different notion of what does leadership mean. So that's been, I think, brief journey. I think over more questions, we'll go into more detail of different parts. But here I am, yeah. And I think one fundamental feeling that I have always had is that it's a collective journey. This is not my journey alone. There are so many people who have given their share of contribution, ahuti. And yeah, one of my mentors, Sadananji, calls it a yagya. And in yagya, everyone is doing their share of ahuti. So never think that you are doing the yagya alone. And I think that's my philosophy also. Okay, there are so many people who have come and gone. Some I remember, some I might not even remember. And some would have helped me in a way that I also don't know that how they have helped me. But I think it's a collective journey more than my individual journey. That's I think was one strong belief. Yeah.
Good. That is pretty amazing. So I'll come to the Yagya part in just a bit. But can you tell me more about your Teach for India experience? You said you were a school teacher for uh, class two bits students, class two students,
Yeah.
and that lasted for
Yeah,
2 years.
great for 2 years. Yeah, it was a full time thing. Yeah.
So how did your perspective of the world or of people change in that time? I mean, that is pretty amazing because none of us can think of doing it, honestly. Forget being a teacher, but going to, government schools and becoming a teacher there is even more, I think, a difficult task in itself.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one thing was कि घर पे कैसे तैयार करें मतलब I am the only, not now only, but now the niece and nephew also speak in English, but I am the only English speaking person in my siblings and my entire larger clan also, and kind of a first engineer who went मतलब went out from Kanpur to study. So there was a lot of pressure from that side because I think uh, out of the four siblings, I still don't know the answer to this question. I think it has always intrigued me. I was sent to a good private school, and the other three siblings went to a Hindi medium school. And I don't know the answer to that question, why that happened. And I think that question always keeps me up,
Hmm.
that there's something different that happened within my family, that I was sent to a Viren Swaroop, which is a good English medium school in Kanpur, the best one of, of my time, one of the best rather. So वो सवाल एक मन में रहता है कि ऐसा क्यों अंतर आया. So उसका मतलब ये भी था कि there were also expectations from me that I will take up some job and do something and bring my family like little bit up in terms of financial thing, because I don't also don't come from a like a rich family, वो तो नहीं है. So वो expectation बहुत थी. So one of the most difficult thing was to convince the family that I can do this. So it took a long time. I think it took first 5 years they were in complete denial that ये तो पागल हो गया है, भटक गया है कुछ तो. And so I think that's a different conversation for some other day. How do we convince family for this journey, because this journey is external and this journey is also internal. So that happened. I think what happened with me in Teach for India, I'll share one instance. So when I joined, I think June 2009, on the first day, my principal, the headmaster, headmistress over there, gave me a list of list of kids who are mentally retarded. 13 kids from the entire school and one kid, Shahid, his name was there from my classroom. So he was tagged mentally retarded, and I also don't know what. How do we engage with someone who is that was a term written mentally retarded. I had no idea of how do I engage with someone who is put in that bracket. But what I did was that कि वो जो भी कर रहा है, let him do whatever he is doing in the classroom. And by I think second month, I did not even interfere with what he's trying to do. Second, I started bringing in some art, and I saw that art he's doing good. Then whenever I used to do my go for my shopping, I used to take him along with me, give him a list of कि चावल लेना है, दाल लेना है. He would go figure out. So he has that intelligence to figure out. So for me, that was a big breakthrough, that he can figure out himself while everyone is saying कि ये पागल है, इसको कम समझ में आता है, but he has that ability कि वो जाके figure out करें. He's liking those things. और छोटे छोटे very small things. I think by the end of the year he came 13th in the class of 52.
Wow.
And yeah, I think for me, I think it just blowed me away. It is like if you are consistently present to a person, I think the person can do wonders. So the whole idea of being present to someone, जिसके साथ हमारा शायद उतना equation अच्छा ना बने, and I think then that became an example for the entire school, because then I went back with that result and whatever his answer sheets were to my headmistress, HM, Sarita ma'am. I clearly remember now also, and she was amazed. She literally took me to other classrooms and other kids and told to other teachers कि देखिए प्रखर सर ने तो ये किया है, ये हो सकता है. So that was sense of possibility seeped in the entire system, and not just for Shahid, for many others जिनको हम बोल रहे थे कि ये नालायक है, ये पढ़ता नहीं है. And these kids were nearly all of them would come from urban slum. तो वहीं से आते थे, पुणे के पास में कोंडवा करके एक जगह है, over there
Hmm.
there's a small slum. So I
Hmm.
think that became a significant shift for me on seeing how to see perceive life, on why every individual is important. So I think yeah, that's one story which I think stood for me from Teach for India. Yeah.
Wow, that is actually amazing. I mean, I don't know how you would have felt at that moment when you would have, seen that result. I think
Yeah.
can't imagine actually. Yeah. Wow. Oh, okay. So the other part that I was coming back to was that you said about mobilizing your Lala in college, Lala owner in college, and then teachers, and then whether they supported or not supported, but they did donate, right? And then eventually, you with the Yaga thing, you have again emphasized on the fact that getting people along is a key part of your role, whatever you've been doing throughout your life, right? And so So what do you think about it? I mean, it is kind of, asking for help, and a lot of us have been trained, and especially with our culture in India, we've been taught not to ask for help, be self-sufficient, atmanirbhar, and all that, blah blah blah. But right? But I think what we have seen is that every person who's successful in whatever manner, they have had all this, support. A lot of people have to. I mean, it takes a village to grow a child, right? Same thing, right? So what has, how have you looked at it? That, I mean, how come you don't worry about asking for help, or, feel ashamed that, oh, I'm asking for help, or any of that feeling? Or how did you come over it if you had that?
तो वो होती तो है. I think that's a very strong feeling sometimes that am I asking money or not, and why am I asking, what will they think. But I think somewhere down the line this clarity came that I'm not asking for myself. And I think this especially happened with Shaheen, who started Teach for India, and we are still very close, and we were very close at that time during Teach for India time. And so when I was struggling to raise money for Youth Alliance, I still remember, and she like made me just practice in front of her that you will not hesitate in asking, because you're not asking for your own personal clothes or a holiday or a trip. This is something you're asking for a cause, and if you don't speak for your cause, then who will speak for your cause? I think that became something which became very important. The other thing also was that from the background that I come, and I'd say a lot of us in this on this call come, is that there's nothing much for us to lose in life. मतलब अगर कोई मना कर देगा, एटलीस्ट अभी मेरा तो फ्रेम वैसा है कि अगर कोई मना कर देगा तो मेरा कुछ नहीं जा रहा है. माई सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट और सेल्फ एस्टीम डजंट कम फ्रॉम अदर पर्सन. I don't need validation in life from the other person. I think it takes a lot of time to move to that space, but at least for me, my self-esteem doesn't come from uh, what anyone is saying. Like what Deepak is saying, that will not define my self-esteem. My self-esteem comes from my own anchor, my own belief system that I have on me. And I think the moment I think we reach to that stage, it becomes very easy. Then I think you can discern between your own self and the cause you are seeing, and then I think the asking becomes easy. Uh, दूसरा मुझे वो लगता है कि I think one of the biggest question that I hold for myself is what do I do of the privilege that I have? Like I'm born, I'm a male. That's a big privilege in a country like India, or all the countries, but especially India also. Being a male is a privilege in itself. I'm a Hindu is a huge privilege in today's time. I'm an upper caste Hindu, again is a privilege. So with all the, and I'm English speaking, and now I've also been to one of the best university in the world. So financially, maybe I'm not that privileged, but I'm the elite of a like highest order now. Now I have all this awareness that I'm an English speaking Hindu male, studied in one of the best university of the college of the world. Now what do I do of all this privilege? One is I can sulk and say, okay, I am so privileged, I am so privileged. Other is like I do something about it. I acknowledge my privilege and move ahead. And the best way is to mobilize more people and put this idea of their privilege in them. And now I think I've sat across like who's who of the country, and I've asked them this question in an extreme humane way. So that I think has been a huge gift, that I don't know from where this language came. Rather than threatening someone else or challenging them, जैसे जो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी करते थे हर चीज में, ये भी चोर है वो भी चोर है, then he learned his lesson and he stopped that. Can I go and sit across a person and make that person see his own humanness? Because sometimes what happens is that because of the things that we have done, we don't want to acknowledge our humanness. And I think that I see as my one huge role, that can I enable the other person to see the good in himself or herself, because that will only shift something. So that's why I think people became important, relationship became important, and it did not stop at transaction that they should give money to Youth Alliance or ISG or the cause, but can they be invested in the larger journey of inner transformation? Because मुझे लगता है पैसा वैसा तो आ ही जाता है eventually. इंसान अगर हमारा आ जाए उस जर्नी में, so then तो money, resources, time, everything will come. How do I invest person in the idea of social change? I think that became much more important. Like I think, I don't know, the Deepak has been part of the program. So in Youth Alliance for 10 years, we have never said that you can't join the program if you can't pay this fees. I'm sure Deepak का भी वही experience रहा होगा मेरी Youth Alliance से transition के बाद भी. But we were very clear that we don't want to first call it fees, we want to call it contribution amount. And second, that we don't want, it has to be a trust based model. It can't be that If Suma can't afford to pay to the program, she will not be. First, the engagement process will be over. First, she will get the invitation letter for the program. Then we will have the conversation around finances. So that's been a basic premise all 2011 when we were struggling to raise 5,000 rupees also. Until now, I think that has been a premise. Ki first the person is invited, then we talk about finances. So yeah, I think sir, that's been I think the basic premise कि इंसान को invest करो, फिर इंसान invest होगा, so the इंसान will not come part in parts. The whole person will come in the process, and when
Right.
the whole person is coming, then their credit card, debit card is also ours. So yeah,
That's a great way to look at it. But in the process, you did break. I mean, I have heard from Deepak in that sense that even he was amazed that okay, these guys are not asking for money first; they are asking to join first, in this program, and then they are not asking how you will pay. And eventually, in the whole process, I think after a year or probably after 2 years, he told me, he learned in the process that oh, this money I eventually paid was not for my own education. I was just paying it forward for somebody else's eventually, right? Because somebody else had already paid for my course, previous batch. Somebody would have given money, and I'm anyway going to join that batch. So understanding that whole point of uh, I think what you just did here is basically the game, right? That if I have to learn, if I want to learn, I can learn. The finances will come, figure out ho jayenge, all those things will get figured. But a lot of us just hold ourselves that no, we don't have the finances, so we may not be able to do it, or we don't deserve to learn this just because we don't have the finances. But I've seen lots of those stories, especially in my friend circle. नहीं यार, मेरे पास तो नहीं है पैसे, तो I don't think I deserve to learn this or join this course. So, but with your course, I mean, with Youth Alliance, I think you've already broken that whole thought process there, right there, which is amazing. I mean, the course is amazing, but that is separate. But just the process of how it gets paid is in itself a big thing. So, yeah,
yeah,
I don't know if you knew this, but yeah, I thought I'll bring that up.
yeah,
The other thing you kept saying, the human part, the humanness, and I think. So I have not known. Okay, so there are lots of guys in this conversation, and lots of guys I have spoken to outside of Niswey, and obviously we all have friends. A relation, the humanness of guys is very less talked about, and it is not known. And boys don't cry, and all those things are said, and they can't be vulnerable, and those kinds of stories I've heard. But from you, I have heard completely different set of stories. And one of the biggest thing. So one of my coaching teachers used to say about a father son relationship. They used to say कि एक म्यान में दो तलवारें नहीं रह सकती हैं. ठीक है. So and I have seen this a lot, with guys. They will talk to their mother for a long time, but to their father they will speak for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. हाँ सब ठीक है, खाना हो गया, पैसे चाहिए, तो हाँ ना, and then conversation is over. But with you, the conversation is at a completely different level, right? And I have been amazed, honestly, and I have not been able to comprehend how is that even possible, honestly. Because mera bhi aisa hi hai, the way it is. The way that my coaching teacher said is how my relationship always has also been. So when I heard about your relationship with your father and the human side of what you're bringing here, how, or maybe you just want to talk about how is your relationship with your father, or was. uh,
yeah. So yeah, so my father passed away to another world somewhere, maybe more peaceful, last year on 16 June, and and yeah, I think uh, it was not just a great learning for me. The what I think conversations we had over the last 15 years since I moved out of my home in 2005. I think there's hardly any day when we would not talk. Unless I'm in Vipachna or some other course or there's no internet hiking somewhere, then I think we would not talk. Otherwise, every single day, wherever I am, whichever part of the country, world I am, and we'll surely talk every single day. And I think, and not just a small talk of like 3 minutes, but also a longer conversation around maybe Ram Mandir, which is like complicated issue. And he was like a hardcore, not like a hardcore, but very spiritual person. He spent 3 hours reading Ramayana every day and all those things. Very, very spiritual in nature. And I'm not saying religious because for me, religion and spirituality are two distinctly different things. Religion can make you mad, spirituality can calm you down. So for me, they are very distinct. Uh, and he was somewhere in between, I would say. He was religious also, but he was spiritual also. And I am agnostic. I believe there's some energy, but I don't believe that all this existed. All these are good stories that were needed to tame people in a certain way. Uh, and we could talk about that. And he was a, I think it is important to share his background. He was a 12th class, 12th pass person from a farming background. My mother is 5th grade pass, and his ability to hold dialogue with me refined to next level altogether. Like he was a strong supporter of multiple things of the current political party, but I've never met even like the PhDs of the top universities also talk or dialogue in a way he could dialogue on a very nuanced idea of CA and RC also. And especially in his last days, towards his last days also, we could sit down and talk about life. I mean, that was a great thing. But I think one thing which I think often young people we miss in our sometime in our I would not say race, but in our quest for our own career is that we don't engage with our parents on a deeper level. So I think mother means food, kitchen ka khana, and I would often challenge young people who would come, ki, what do you remember when you think of a mother? And the moment they would say food, and my often answer is that Raju Bhaiya, who was a maid for me in Lajpat Nagar, cooked better food than my mother. Why am I always thinking my mother as a food only? It's good, I think, general nurturing nature is there, love is there, but our connotation has to change, and that will change only when our conversation with our parents will change. If we talk to my mother only about food, then my memory of my mother will remain of food only. If I talk to my father just when I have to pay the fees, then my memory of my father will be around money only. So if I have to change my conversation with any relationship, with my sibling also, or if with my partner, if I talk about one thing only, then my memory of my partner will always be of that one thing. So the bouquet of conversation has to change. And I think that is more our responsibility than their responsibility. So yeah, so it was very hard in the beginning, but I think with a lot of love, I kept poking, and our windows started broadening. Eventually, over the decade, our conversation varied, and what I saw because of that was because my other three siblings' relationship with my father also changed. He was a very stern, non-talking patriarch, and because and multiple things have also happened. So I got to know, I think, with my mother, I was talking, why does he talk like this? Why does he not talk politely to you? And that was a sort of fundamental thing for me, that you should talk politely to each other, respect hona chahiye. But he would not do mostly. Sometimes he would do very loving, and he would always like cut vegetables and help in kitchen. But जब वो बात करने जब मुंह खुलेगा, तो मुंह एकदम ऐसे ही खुलेगा कि एकदम मुझे वो राजा है वहां के, अब कहाँ के राजा है मुझे तो नहीं पता. And then my mother shared with me, you just imagine he has never got mother's love. He has been raised by men in the family because my grandmother died when he was 3 year old. And I think for me that shifted my lens towards seeing him, because he has not experienced what does a mothering love mean. Can I be that part of in life? And I think वो सब हमारे रोल होते हैं. हमें लगता है कि हम बेटे हैं या बेटी हैं तो हम वो कर नहीं सकते. I think it's just the hat we want to wear, and we can wear multiple hats in our life. And I think that started shifting. So I would go, and उनके दीवान पे कोई लेटता नहीं था. He would only sit, he will only वहां पे वही सोएंगे. And when I would go back from college and मैं जाके लेट जाऊंगा, I would put my leg on him, and he would just ऐसे throw me away. I would still do it again, and then he would smile. क्योंकि यार वो अंदर दिल में तो बहुत सबके बच्चा होता ही है. No matter we are 70 year old or we are 30 year old or 10 year old, the child is always there. And I don't think so there's anyone on this planet who doesn't like to be cared, who doesn't like to be said something nice. We all like that. No matter how stern I behave from outside, if someone will say something good about me, I will like it. And I think I learned in that entire process that if I can make the other person feel good about himself or herself, or let them see what is good in their heart, I think the person's perception about themselves will start changing, because we also start making perception about our own self, and then there's no one to challenge that perception. often we challenge on the negative side of that person कि आपकी आवाज इतनी तेज क्यों है, but we would not change on the other side. And one thing that I am learning is that if I can, if I have a gift of listening, maybe if I can strengthen that gift, I will be like stronger in other aspect of my life also. But our society is framed in a way that they will tell you what is wrong in you, and they would want you to improve on what you don't have. तो वो scarcity की तरफ तो आपको ले जाएंगे. But if I have something already in me, no one in the society, no one in our education system or in our friend circle also would say कि यार ये तेरा बहुत शानदार है तो इस पे क्यों नहीं काम करता है और. And I think that shift, if you can be, so at least I see my role in my team also, in my family also, to show them like 10 times their good side, bright side, maybe 2 times their not so good side. So वो भी important है, but that's my role I see. And I think that shifted a lot between us, between me and my father. And we had a like lovely last 2 3 months last year. Very amazing time. At the end of the day, I had to take the call whether he'll be on in ICU or not. And I think when he was like diagnosed with cancer in 2015, so we went to doctor, everything happened, and then I sat down with him, ki, how much do you want to live? And we spoke about death also, and we had like 2 3 conversation detailed to our conversation on death, and which I think we don't have. हम ऐसे हवा बना देंगे, अभी मरना तो है ही, सभी को मरना है, we also have to go eventually. Now there's a choice कि the person is suffering with cancer, how much should the person be suffering? हम उन्हें ICU में रखे रहेंगे, he will also not understand what's happening, but somewhere someone has to decide. So how do we also prepare the patient and the family for that? So we had some amazing conversation around death. And I asked him, ki, how do you want to live? Mother, do you want to be like walking in gold, like maybe last few months, or you want to be on क्या बोलते हैं chemotherapy, or you want to go on a chemotherapy and like stretch for 2 years, but in extremely dependent state. And he was very clear. He said that यार इतना load नहीं लेते हैं, जब तक ठीक रहता है तब तक ठीक रखते हैं. So those were difficult choices for me also, because half the time we get emotional about things and we don't think rationally. So being the youngest in the family, it was difficult for me to make those choices. So 15th June was my parents' 50th anniversary, and 15th June around 2 a.m. He went into ICU. That day, I think my choice was very clear, and I said that okay, 15th June should not be his last day, because this is our 50th anniversary. And when I ordered a beautiful frame, actually Anisha only ordered for me because I was busy in hospital. Anisha is a friend who works at Youth Alliance, and Abhinav sir also knows her. And that frame came on 16th evening, when he came back we got him back on 16th around 1 p.m. to home, and at 3:30 p.m. was his last breath. And that frame came around like 6:37 p.m. in the evening of 50th anniversary. But yeah, that was a choice that we made कि 15 तारीख तो आखिरी दिन नहीं होना चाहिए, 50 साल तो पूरे होने चाहिए. And so yeah, so life is life. But yeah, but it has shifted something within me, fundamentally, his going away. Yeah, I'm yet to understand exactly what it is, but I do feel that permanent vacuum. Yeah, but I'm happy by the way we spent last 3 months. So that was good. Yeah. There's a lot to learn. I think अब तो मुझे लगने लगा कि every young people, every friend ऐसे थे कि भाई अपने माता पिता के साथ समय बिताओ, बातचीत करो. अगर तुम्हें लगता है वो बहुत खड़ूस हैं, तो तुम भी उतना ही खड़ूस हो. Someone has to break the ice. It is better that we start talking with our parents. Yeah, it's a two-way learning process. They have taught us, and now it is our time to teach them the modern things of the world, and in a very respectful way. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if all this is making sense in terms of leadership, but I think
No, I mean, it is making sense in terms of who we are as human beings, whether leadership or not. I think it doesn't matter. As human beings, is what we are first, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have words right now. I don't know how you went through that whole journey all over again. That's very brave of you, Prakhar, to you know.
thank you.
Yeah, most of us, clearly have no no clue on how to talk to, people or produce people in general. Nobody has a clue. I mean, forget parents in general also. Nobody has a clue on how to, how to handle. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I mean, yeah, lots of things. I think we could go on that topic, or I could. I also have one more thing that I have, thought of asking you. So I'll move to that, and if time persists, and or if there are more questions, we can come back to, to the more human side of us. Uh, so the next thing I wanted to, did talk to you about was, uh, if you're up for it, basically. Yeah, are you feeling low or something, or you want to continue? I just want to be sure.
No, I'm good. I think I to cherish. I think I got like I used to write a lot about our experiences for
Mhm.
the next 1 month, and I think more than 50, 60 people messaged me that thank you for sharing these things because for a lot of people, their relationship with their parents changed because they heard this. So I thought, yeah, it does do something every time I talk about it. And very rarely I talk about this. I think you
Mhm.
knew this. That's why I think we are talking about it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
usually nahi hota hai ye. But I feel like we all owe this to our parents. And I know sometimes they are very khadush, so it's not that I am completely blindly. Sometimes they are, but it's two generations apart. मतलब 10-15 साल में generation बदल जाती है आज के time पे.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So you mentioned about the writings. Are these public? Are these in public domain? Yeah. You just shared it with a few select people.
they were मतलब they were on Facebook only, a lot of them.
Oh, acha.
So
Okay.
I think I should put them at one place. That will be good for me also. Yeah,
Yeah. One thread could be really nice, and even wants
yeah,
to, then we can. I mean, I definitely want to read. So yeah, that's why I asked honestly.
yeah.
Okay. So coming back to your current, work, ISD, Indian School of Democracy. Specifically in today's world, the politics has, it's just become so much, polarized, right? People are, either their way or there is no other way, right? That's how people have started to see. And, we've all heard that story about, blind people put across the elephant, and everybody has their own way of looking at the elephant, and they all are right in their own manner, right? Everybody has heard that story. But how do you, how do you put these people in a room and still be able to have a decent even conversation, because some of your participants, I mean, most of your participants will be from opposing parties, right? Yeah. They would have done some groundwork, I believe, right? That's how they have been selected. Yeah. Okay. And so after doing that groundwork, the ideology, generally becomes very strong in one's head. मैं तो इस party का हूँ, and this is what I believe in, and the other person, truly believes in something else, and then you're able to put all of these people together in one room and have a conversation, and have that conversation about, different truths of every, single individual. So how are you able to do it, and tell me more about this, handling different truths at the same time. uh, how do you do that?
Um, so the core of our work is, and I think how we see how politics will shift is that until unless we don't have dialogue in our political ecosystem, things won't shift. I think that's one premise of our work, and also the role of politician in general is social mediation. And social mediation means when you can bring multiple interest groups together. I think any politician across history, the most successful one are the ones who have the ability to hold different kind of social groups together. So if we talk about Gandhi had the ability to bring like the upper caste people together, the Harijans together, the corporations of that time, the Jamshedji and Birla of that time, and the Muslim also together. So his bouquet of people together was very strong. And similarly, if we see today's our current prime minister, he also his ability to bring different kind of social groups is quite high. Like it is first time historically in BJP's history that Dalits have voted for BJP. So he's been able to influence a new social group in the party, and I think that's what I think brings people together. If we, I don't know, there's a documentary, there's a movie on Abraham Lincoln in Netflix. I am missing the name. If you just search Abraham Lincoln on Netflix, and there's a moment. Uh, So and that movie is entirely based on this one act of abolishing slavery. If this weekend you have time, you must watch that movie just to understand perspective. Uh, how it is important for a politician to hear other perspective and see what is making sense to them, and then bring people together for a common thing. And some things will be good in that, some things will be which don't align with your own personal value system, but then still you have to listen because you're in public life. So that I think is something which we have understood very well, that social mediation to happen, we have to bring different kind of people together, and then only things will change. And I think for that, the first premise is that, and we focus a lot on our team, is that how is my ability to engage with multiple kind of truth? How is my ability to engage with the BJP, with the Congress, with the Samajwadi Party, with an Owaisi? I might like them, some of them I might disagree with them, some of them fundamentally, but can I engage with them? Because what happens in a program is that the participants see through the lens of facilitator, and if the facilitator's lens is colored in the program, it will automatically reach them. So I think a lot more work happens on the team side for us to learn what's happening to us when we are engaging with for that matter, Ayugen Yadav. Am I getting too excited by while talking to him, or am I toned down in my energy? Because I might like how Yogen Yadav speaks. Or if Ravish Kumar is coming, am I getting too excited about it? Or when Ram Madhav is coming, is my perception colored with my political alignment? So I think that becomes one important thing. And second, I think respect is at the core of the organization. So you can like all these people come in our programs, Ram Madhav, Atishi, Yogendra Yadav, Owaisi, all these people have been part of the program. And our only premise is that there's nothing censored in Indian school of democracy. You can ask any question from anyone, but the premise is that it should come from a place of respect. If you're asking a question from a place that you want to demean them, then this is not the space for you. If you're asking a question to understand your own political journey, then this is the place for you. Because sometimes when we ask a question, there's no honesty in the question. I already know the answer. I'm just trying to ask a question to prove a point. And I think that's not the place over here. And a lot of us don't know that we are doing that because there's something inside our heart, and I want to pull Ovesi down or Ram Madhav down because of my political allegiances,
Yeah.
and I'll ask a question which will be very stupid in its own time, and it will be very close. It will not be even an open question, and it will be a leading question. So we do like a proper session around these things. Ki what is a question, and how questions are very important in our personal life, and how questions lead us to next step. If you have an answer already, and if it's a fixed answer, then you will not walk ahead in your journey. So answers are very dangerous to get to so easily. So, but questions can take us on a long journey. If it is a good curious question, it can open multiple doors in our life. So we talk about those things. Okay, what is a leading question? What is an honest question? What is an egoful question? And then see, okay, you asked this question to Ovesi, or you asked this question to Ram Madhav. Did that bring something new to you, or it was just to uh, like fulfill your own ego? And I think those conversation also shift them. कि अच्छा ठीक है, there's something that I did wrong, and we do this publicly. So all our session happen in a circle, that everyone is equal. So if Ovasi will also come, he will also sit on the floor in the circle. And there's no bouquet that we'll give to these like big leaders, and they're very respectful. I think a lot of them, each one of them, when they come, they're very respectful to these things. And I think that's been the best thing. And I think that's what the politics is. That's what we have to change. We don't have to put a member of parliament on a pedestal. And that's what we say. This is ISD's politics, that we'll see them as equal because they're citizens of our country. We'll respect them for their experience, but there'll be no added flavor in their coffee. Everyone will get the same coffee. So I think that clarity we have. They will eat the same food. There'll be no Bisleri water available for no matter who is coming. It will be regular water filled from the water tap from which I am drinking. From that only our member of parliament who is coming as a faculty will drink. Because what happens is that we make it such a huge thing that then we don't relate with them. And if we have to break down that whole idea, कि ये कुछ खुदा है, मतलब ये है, मतलब they've done their share of work, that's why they are there, but we have to make them as common people. तो वो है, I think that's been there. And this whole idea of question has, I think, grounded a lot of us in a different way to see from where it is coming. Uh, yeah, I don't know if it answers the entire question.
It does,
Just
and it's opened a lot of other things actually. I mean, the point you made about what kind of a question it is, I think, is the key thing here. I think because yes, we not just in politics, or I think in general in life, in workplaces, we end up asking leading questions. We ask questions with a with not the intent to learn, but maybe to to put down the other fellow or something, right? All those things happen in our daily workplaces and in our general lives also. And I think if you can bring in that clarity, probably that is the key thing of running the whole show. I think if people know that what kind of a question and what is the intent behind the question, and they have that awareness that okay, no, let me ask, with the intent to learn rather than just to put a Vesey down or somebody down. I think if you
Yeah,
can
and
bring
they
that,
are way ahead in our journey. I think people like Ram Madhav Ovesi, no matter I agree with them or not, but they are way ahead. They've established themselves.
yeah,
And you are 35-year-old trying to learn. I mean, you are planning to contest an MLA election. So you have to put down a little bit and just learn from different experiences. I think that I don't believe in this whole idea that I can't learn from people who are coming from opposite ideas. There's so much to learn. Often when the friction is maximum, there's maximum learning also. मतलब इतना भी ना हो कि टूट जाए, but if there's enough
yeah.
friction between within a team also, I think
uh,
there's a lot to learn. Yeah. For me, as a personal practice, I think I take up one or two questions every day, and I think I write it at the front page of my diary. It's been a
okay.
practice for 9 years now. And there's one anchor question for me every year. Sometimes it comes in January, sometimes it will come in March, but that question is there, and I keep going back to that question. So I think it has helped me a lot. And then there are many questions that will come in. I think in my this diary itself, there will be more than 100, 200 questions that I have. But there's a one anchor question every year for me at least.
And so
So,
what are these questions about or related to?
so like for this year, my question is, what is the sacrifice I'm willing to make to pursue my dream?
Okay.
So this is the question for me for this year. And it came in a conversation with a mentor, and he asked me this question. So, what is the sacrifice you want to make to pursue the India that you are imagining?
Hmm.
And it just shook me. Yeah, there's so much that I need to let go of in my own personal life.
Right.
So that became, I think, for a couple of years, 16, 17, my question was, how can I love unconditionally? And I think that shaped me in multiple ways. I think a lot of what I did or what happened between me and my father came from that question only. Yeah, it might feel that my work is getting affected, but what will it take for me to love unconditionally?
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, well, there's no there as if I have reached there, but there are anchors that will maybe take me somewhere, and I'm I think happy with those anchors that they are taking me in some direction, which seems more peaceful. Uh, so yeah,
I mean, every question is probably leading to somewhere, and then that next
yeah,
question is probably is there because of answering a previous question sometime back, probably. And that's how
yeah.
it, yeah, that's how it all go. That's a very interesting practice, I think. I never thought of it. Very, very interesting, asking yourself these questions. Wow, to take you far, or it could also mess up your mind. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think, right, could also mess up your mind, I think.
Yeah, that's why having some mentors around is important. Some people, friend can be also a mentor, but
Hmm.
some people you can talk about these things.
Hmm.
Uh,
So and yeah, I mean, glad that you brought that up, because that's, I think, one of the other things I wanted to just hear your thoughts around, because so I keep hearing from a lot of people, and some people approach me also, and things like that happen, that how do I get a mentor, how do I get a good mentor? And you have had some of the most fabulous people around yourself, whom you can call mentors, right? So how has that happened? I mean,
yeah, but I think I've been just lucky sometimes. I have to feel that I've been at the right place at the right time, and I don't think so. I've done something extraordinary to get them, but I think the conversations have been very authentic, and the initial conversation have just shaped up in a very different relationship with like Ravi Bhaiya. 2012 was the first time I met him, and we met in this Khan Market home in the garden, and he interviewed me for like 2 hours.
oh, okay.
I still tease him कि यार कितने सवाल पूछे थे आपने उस दिन मेरे से कह रहे थे यार बट मेरे लिए जानना तो इम्पोर्टेंट है कौन आया है मेरे जीवन में.
Okay.
And I think utmost honesty in those conversations have just built the relationship extremely deep with a lot of them. तो यार हमारे आसपास शायद लोग होते हैं, sometimes we hesitate in talking,
Yes.
and sometimes we hesitate in acknowledging that I need this. And वो hesitation तो खत्म करना बहुत important है कि how do I stop myself from not demanding what I want from myself. मैं थोड़ी गहरी बातें बोल दे रहा हूँ सेंटेंसेस में, तो उसे मतलब बाद में फिर से सुन लेना. हाउ डू आई नॉट स्टॉप माई सेल्फ फ्रॉम डिमांडिंग व्हाट आई वांट फ्रॉम माई सेल्फ. तो अपने आप को मैं कैसे ना रोकूं, मुझे ये चाहिए अगर अपने आप से, एंड दैट कैन बी सेइंग अ नो टू समथिंग और सेइंग अ यस टू समथिंग. बट हाउ डू आई अलाउ माई सेल्फ टू रीच आउट टू समवन, टू सी कि मेरा कनेक्शन बन रहा है, बट ऐसे लग रहा है बहुत अप द लैडर इन वट एवर आवर लैडर वर्ड वी वर्क, but then still reach out. This is something that you said and I liked about it. And I used to write a lot of emails when I was in college also. I used to read Hindu, and I still remember I used to write emails after reading editorial. I will write my opinion. Okay, this is
Okay.
rarely they would respond, but I will still write. From my third year onwards, I used to read Hindu on a daily basis, and then I would read the editorial, write to them. This is my view, what you have said. Some, I think one or two, twice maybe they have responded out of maybe 100 emails I would have sent, but I would surely do that. And that I think helped me while building organizations. So I'll hear a talk, I will find the email ID. It's very easy to get the email ID of any person, and I will write to them. Like I saw the documentary Nero's Guest of P. Sainath, wrote to him, and then Abhi Sainath ji is like a, yeah, घर का person, or Prakash Amte for that matter, Baba Amte, saw his movie, figure out a contact, went to Gadchiroli, spent like 3-4 days at their place. तो वो I think वो effort मारे अगर yeah. Deepak, you might know a lot more than maybe others, so you can also share links of these people, Prakash Amte, Mandakini Amte, Baba Amte, these people, the work they have done. So हाँ, मैं एकदम बेशर्मी के साथ पूजा पूछ लेता हूँ लोगों से कि क्या आपके पास 1 घंटा समय है. उस 1 घंटे के बाद तो फिर हम पे डिपेंड करता है कि, और मुझे लग रहा है कि मुझे मैं इंस्पिरेशन फील कर रहा हूँ प्रकाश आमटे की मूवी देख के, तो मेरे अंदर कुछ हो रहा है. तो अभी तो ठीक है, आई कैन राइट अ मेल, मतलब उसकी डिजिटल मार्केटिंग की तरह ही है ना. इससे मुझे यहाँ लग रहा है कनेक्शन है, यहाँ मेरा टारगेट कस्टमर या क्लाइंट हो सकता है, जो भी लैंग्वेज होगी, तो उनको हम ईमेल डाल रहे हैं, कोल्ड ईमेल. सिमिलरली हम यहाँ पे लोग सुन रहे हैं एंड आई एम लाइकिंग दैट पर्सन, so I'm just writing an email to them or finding a connect. Can someone connect with Prakash Amte? Connect मिल गया, चले गए वहां पे मिलने. तो आई थिंक a lot of it has happened that ways only, कि कहीं सुना, टॉक सुनी, उसमें अंशु भैया ने कुछ बोला जो लगा कि मेरे जीवन से कनेक्टेड है, पहुंच गए. 2 बार भगाया उन्होंने, लिटरली भगाया कि इतना टाइम नहीं है मेरे पास. तो उसके बाद ऐसा हो गया कि वो घर का रिश्ता हो गया उनके साथ में. तो आई थिंक
Anshubhya is the founder of Goons, basically. You guys have maybe seen on KBC, he's come and all of those as now. हाँ, मेरी भी 1-2 बार बात हुई अंशु भैया से, बट देन आई कुड नेवर परस्यू. मुझे लगता था यार पता नहीं है मुझे क्या बोल देंगे और मुझे समझ नहीं आएगा, तो आई कुड नेवर परस्यू एनी कन्वर्सेशन. बट
I think
यार.
he asked in 2011 to me to leave.
अच्छा.
मैं तो कुछ एकदम फैंसी आइडिया दुनिया बदलने का ले गया था. उन्होंने कहा कि बेटा अच्छी बात है, बट एक काम करो, तुम इसे करके आओ, 6 महीने बाद आना. एंड ही न्यू कि नहीं होगा, मतलब
हाँ.
ठीक है, अच्छा है कि फैंसी आइडिया था मेरा दुनिया बदलने का. 500 वॉलंटियर थे मेरे पास, ऐसे करके कुछ तो हम गए थे. तो उन्होंने कहा था 5 बचे तब आना, और लिटरली जब 5 ही बचे थे दिसंबर में, देन आई वेंट बैक. कहते हैं अब तुम ठीक रास्ते पे हो. बट या, so I think just reaching out to someone you feel connected to, there's no harm in that. और एक स्टैंडर्ड एक ईमेल बना लो ना, फिर नाम बदलना है, थोड़ा बदलना है, थोड़ा कस्टमाइज करनी है.
पर्सनलाइज करना है थोड़ा सा, है यही तो हम मार्केटिंग में करते आ रहे हैं हमेशा से.
बस, तो आप लोग तो एक्सपर्ट, मतलब आप लोग को तो हमें बताना चाहिए. तो हमारी मेरी ईमेल का रिस्पांस आज तक नहीं आया, वो क्यों नहीं आया, व्हाट शुड आई राइट इन दैट ईमेल. But I do get a feedback that my emails in general are very heart driven, which I feel is my strength. which is not very standard of how the word operates. I do also get feedback in my emails are long, but I think that has been I see that as something that connects with people
Yeah,
from
I
my
mean,
thoughts.
तभी connection बनता है, even I have done that. I mean, when you ask me as a marketer, I think मेरा success rate बहुत खराब है, but I have written to lots of big people and they have responded also. Just because, one guy said, it just felt like I should talk to you. And he was once when he was traveling to India, he said, okay, मैं दिल्ली में हूँ, if you are around, I can meet. I have to work, right? So those kinds of conversations and things have happened with me also, and it's only on personal level. तभी होता है
Yeah,
लॉन्ग ईमेल डीप कन्वर्सेशन समथिंग यू रियली फील फॉर, तभी होता है. मार्केटिंग ईमेल तो सीधे पिच होती है ना, उसमें इसलिए उसमें कोई रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करता, उसमें हम भी कुछ नहीं तुम्हारी हेल्प कर सकते.
yeah.
But in general, I don't know if, I mean, if that is the case with you for your fundraising, but I've seen one two things you're able to get from people. One is their time, second is their money. I think you've done that on and on, I think for many years now, successfully. I think that's so you're doing something really well there, basically.
That's good.
Yeah, good. A small last question, and then we'll open it for audience. So we see you're on the screen. Your name says Prakhar Bhartiya, and Bhartiya is basically Indian, right? So, and in the beginning of the conversation, somewhere you were saying you were a Hindu, and also what is your real name, and how did this transition happen?
Uh, पता नहीं मतलब कॉलेज में ही है आई डोंट नो आपने याद होगा आपको शायद 2009 8 onwards I started writing Bhartiya and dropped my surname.
Yeah,
And उसका सिंपल सा आइडिया वही था कि आई थिंक हाउ आई थिंक सरनेम कास्ट एवरीथिंग डिवाइड्स पीपल एंड होल आइडिया वाज दैट माय प्राइम आइडेंटिटी इज इंडियन. अभी मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि इंडियन इज माय प्राइम आइडेंटिटी, not because of the current government. अगर हम if you are going that side,
good
that's
to
not the reason, but
clarify.
I feel there's much more to a human being beyond just being a part of citizen of one nation. But I think from there it changed, and I think now I think very few people know. College वालों को पता होगा surname, and
Right,
then yeah, and then some other places like official documents and all. Otherwise, I think most people don't know what is the real surname. And I also usually don't remember people's surname because it's also a sign of privilege if you don't know what caste you are by the time you are 20. That means that you are from mostly upper caste. Because otherwise, if you are like a Dalit or a woman, the society makes you feel that you are a woman. The women on this call would know by the time they are 16, 17, someone or the else would have ensured that you know that you are a woman. Similarly, for a Dalit or like SC, ST communities, people make you feel that you don't come from the upper caste. So, वो privilege है. So, I also carry that privilege. The whole idea is to not spread that too much beyond myself. So, yeah.
Yeah. Good. I mean, yeah, I was just curious and I thought maybe others should hear also. I obviously know that nobody now knows your real surname, so don't want to. But yeah,
Yeah.
good. Great,
Thank
yeah,
you.
great. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think let's just leave it open for the people, guys, whatever questions you have. Then yeah. I think Prakhar did smartly blog around additional 30 minutes. But yeah, so we have about 15 minutes here. So yeah, any questions you guys have? I think most of us are moved by the things you said.
कोई सवाल नहीं भी है तो भी चलेगा. मूव्ड आप नहीं भी बोलोगे तो भी चलेगा.
नहीं मैं तो हो गया हूँ definitely. I mean, even though I've been speaking to you forever, still I am moved. So yeah, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah. Thanks, Praveen.
So what
Uh,
motivates you to actually do stuff? Why not just chill, just reading it out aloud?
yeah. Uh, Praveen, very rarely I have felt like I'm working. And this I'm not saying out of like modesty or anything, but I genuinely feel excited about my life nearly every single day. Very rarely there are patches, and I remember when were they patches. I think one patch was this April when like people were dying all over the place across the country. I think that was one phase, and uh, or when I think a couple of years back when the Kashmir thing happened, internet lockdown, I think that was a very challenging phase. So I would literally get up middle of the night and just cry, कि what's happening. तो अभी I think वो तो नहीं लगता है ऐसे work वाला. I think life seems like is in control, peaceful. So I think that's been a good space. Uh, like I said before, I think one of the biggest questions is what do I do of the privilege I hold? Of all the tags that I have in my life, I want to make sense of it. I don't want to die without making sense of it. So वो I think बहुत clarity है. And then I have an amazing partner who I think fundamentally understands, and both of us understand. And I think that's been a great gift in life that we have both started pretty early, 2006. Say we are together. It's been around now 15 years, and we have seen each other grow. So we have seen each other struggle. We've seen each other struggling for like 5,000 rupees a month also, and not like very far back, like few years back also. Uh, and the tricky part in the entire thing is that when you know that you have capacity to earn, and when you have offers to earn, and then you make a choice that you don't want to do that, wo I think tricky hota hai. But then having a partner who understand has I think eased my life way too much. And then our decisions that we have made in our life, that we don't want a kid, that we don't want to buy a house, we don't want to have savings beyond certain limit, and not a huge limit, a crore mein nahi hai wo limit. So I think those three choices of not having owning a house, not having a kid, and not having a bank balance, but having for sure a good health insurance, very good health insurance, वो हमने मेक श्योर किया है कि वो तो होना चाहिए लाइफ में. तो ये तीन डिसीजन के बाद ऐसे लगता है दुनिया मुट्ठी में है. तो वो कर लो दुनिया मुट्ठी में वाला जो था, तो द लाइफ सीम्स वेरी मच इन कंट्रोल. And I have a strong social structure around me. I have a strong network in terms of social support system around me. And Gandhi used to talk about this लोकमित्र idea that अगर आप समाज का काम कर रहे हैं तो समाज आपका ख्याल रखता है. और मेरा बहुत गहरा बिलीफ है उसमें. ऐसे मतलब बहुत गहरा बिलीफ है कि people will take care of me in the case of emergency. Like when my father was not well, a lot of people were there around who offered support of various kinds. But thankfully we were able to manage it. तो वो वाला भी है. तो ये सब अगर आपके पास इतना सारा सेफ्टी नेट है, then I think the only thing remains in life is to find the purpose and do something about it. और अभी जब फिजिकली दर्द होता है, मतलब अभी से फिजिकल जैसे भूख चली जाती है, जैसे कुछ अभी रिपोर्ट पढ़ी तो इंडिया 101 नंबर पे है, तो ऐसे for me I think it is now impossible to remove myself from that. So I will remember. I think me and my wife surely will have breakfast conversation around it. So we're also trying to make our life that way. कि हम अपने जीवन में क्या अंतर ला सकते हैं? Can we stop eating one meal a day? Because there's something like, so maybe as a practice for a year. So wo I think has been there. Like I've got a charkha. Can I do physical labor for 30 minutes every day? And that's not to tell the word about it, but can I have my practice? Can I do something with mud every single day? Can I do gardening for 30 minutes? So I've got like some 100 pots in the home, but थोड़ा थोड़ा करते रहे उसके साथ में, so that my routine doesn't change. Because I think what happens is that our anchoring changes as we go up, whatever in society's hierarchy, as we go up, our anchoring shifts. And for that, I feel that the whole harmony between head, heart, hand, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, and that will come by physical work. And that's why my a lot of focus in life now, especially in the last 2 years, has been of doing something by my hands. It can be gardening, it can be something else, but consistently doing it as a practice, at least 4 or 5 days a week. I do that. So Shramdan is an essential part of our programs, like cleaning toilets is an essential, cleaning public toilets is an essential part of our programs. And every time we do that, I'll be the first person to do it in the team also. Okay, I'll pick up like the dirtiest public toilet and like spend 2 hours cleaning it. And everyone will do, but just to as an example that no one is above or below in the hierarchy. So I think वो सारा एंकरिंग के बाद ना अपना मन पे भी कंट्रोल रहता है. तो और मुझे तो लगता है कि मन पे, जैसे मैं थोड़ा ओल्ड स्कूल हूँ. I believe in the control of our palate. I believe in control of our choices. I believe in control of our needs. तो मेरा है वो थोड़ा ओल्ड स्कूल में साउंड कर सकता हूँ, बट इतना ओल्ड नहीं हूँ.
He's
But yeah,
younger than me, just in case people want to know. He may be looking old, he's younger than me. But yeah,
yeah.
done far much more.
वो सब पता नहीं, बट हाँ, तो ये that's I think a little long answer to your short question. कि choices हैं which help me stay afloat. Thanks Pooja, she's gone I think. Yeah.
Okay,
Suma,
another
you asked something,
question.
no?
Simran is asking
Yeah,
how.
yeah, Suma, lot of it, yeah. I was arrogant. I was full arrogant. He would remember. Arrogance was, I think, part of my being. It was very difficult for a lot of people to even engage sometimes in my first year of college. And from there, I've seen a significant shift. And I proudly share that also. Ki I've seen myself in that light, and I've seen that I can mobilize people in my first year also with my full arrogance to do things which are not good. And I think then this awareness ki I have the ability to mobilize people, can I use it in the good way? I think that came little later. So वो तो I think काफी हुआ है. And also sometimes when we are, at least when I was young, a lot of it started to show or demonstrate. And I think over the years it has shifted from there. It is important part of my own being. So how do I move from showing to being? I think that's been a huge journey. So वो जो validation का था, what I was sharing a little before, I think, and that's why it has helped me. This has helped me stop seeking validation from outside. So I feel a lot more abundant within my own heart, that I don't want someone else's validation. So वो showing से being की journey तो काफी solid रही है. अभी भी बहुत चीजों में showing का है, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं खत्म हो गया है. But I think the awareness has been there, like from the whole like fourth stage. Somewhere I read, from doing unconsciously wrong to consciously wrong to consciously right to unconsciously right. You're always on a spectrum. Some things I'll be doing unconsciously, like patriarchy is within me. For some parts I know, for some parts I'm completely unaware कि मेरे से भी हो रहा है वो. I'm propagating patriarchy, मुझे पता ही नहीं है. But there are some part where I'm very consciously right, and some things will unconsciously happen through me which will challenge patriarchy. तो वो पूरा spectrum है. And I think it's a constant journey. The idea is to reach to most stages at the place of unconsciously right, कि मुझे सोचना ना पड़े. जैसे प्लास्टिक पानी की बोतल मुझे नहीं याद मैंने लास्ट कब खरीदी, तो दैट्स अ स्टेज वेयर इट इज अनकॉन्शियसली राइट. यार बिजली खुली छोड़ी याद नहीं मुझे कब छोड़ी होगी लास्ट. बट देयर आर थिंग्स, जैसे घर का काम में इक्वल डिवीजन अभी फ्रेम में नहीं आता है. अभी ऑटोमेटिकली लगता है कि मैं काम करने लगूं अपना उठ के, बिकॉज उस फ्रेम में. आई थिंक व्हाइल वी हैव अ समवन हु कम्स टू हेल्प कुक एंड ऑल, but then I think I'm lately learning so much is that the whole mental responsibility of allocating कि आज खाना क्या बनेगा, that also takes something from women. And it took me for a while to understand this, because my frame was कि अब तो वो दीदी आती हैं, पर वो दीदी आती हैं उनको रोज बताना पड़ेगा. And that mental block to get up and tell everything कि ये बनना है, ये नहीं बनना है, ये सब्जी नहीं है, ये सब्जी आ गई है, अगर सब्जी भी क्या पता नीचे से ही मिल जाएगी, बट देन वो लगता है 10 मिनट का काम है. But I think it's a very deep rooted patriarchy mindset, which I think now I'm learning in the last 1 year, especially in the lockdown. I learned कि वो mental frame भी एक baggage होता है, and how do I challenge my own notions in that. uh, was I able to explain Suma what I'm saying, the mental baggage of घर में मुझे बनाना नहीं है बट किसी को बताना है, और वो कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी किसी से. वॉशिंग मशीन में कपड़े डालने हैं, those small things come from deep seated patriarchy that often men don't understand. कि उन्हें लगेगा ये तो थोड़ा सा तो काम है, 15 मिनट का तो होता है, which I've said so many times to Ashi. But I think I've lately, like, I'm learning कि कुछ फ्रेम में गड़बड़ है अभी. Yeah. Simran.
Very nice. And the Simran's question: when did you realize that you would make connections and be consistent with it, as in making those efforts and trusting something would work out eventually?
Yeah. Simran, just one thing. So if I think from our relationship that something will work out, it is a transactional relationship. Because I already have a result in mind. But if I go in a relationship with completely not thinking about, if it's a funding meeting, it's a funding meeting. If I'm meeting a grant organization, if I'm meeting a VC funder or funder, anyone like that, तो वो तो clear है कि वहाँ पे तो funding की expectation है. But in many other relationship like this conversation, it's not कि इससे मतलब कुछ निकल के ही आना चाहिए. I think now at least in the last 3-4 years, my focus has been the experience of that conversation should be good. उससे कुछ निकल के आता है नहीं आता है पता नहीं, but both the people who are talking or the group talking, when they move out of the conversation, they should feel there's something meaningful spoken about. अभी उसमें वो कुछ बनेगा कुछ नहीं बनेगा. इन जनरल फंडिंग का अगर हम देखें तो यू नॉट आस्क्ड अबाउट स्पेसिफिकली फंडिंग, बट इन जनरल अगर देखें तो वो हिट रेट तो कम ही होता है, 5-6%. यू टॉक टू 100 people, 5-6 will give money, तो वो तो कम ही है. But at least my lens now, which I get sometimes feedback also कि you trust too much on people, but पर मुझे लगता है ठीक है. मतलब आई थिंक कहीं तो कुछ स्पेसेस तो बने संसार में जहाँ पे आपको 100% ट्रस्ट मिल रहा है, वरना अदरवाइज तो आधे टाइम तो हम सिनिकल और स्केप्टिकल आंखों से ही देख रहे हैं एक दूसरे को. तो या आई डोंट नो इफ दैट आंसर्स सिमरन योर क्वेश्चन, बट आई थिंक वो लेंस पूरी तरह से हमें ट्रांजैक्शन से ट्रस्ट की तरफ ले जाना होगा, एंड देन ओनली इट विल हैपन. हाउ डू आई नॉट हैव अ result in mind? Can I enter a conversation with not having a result in mind? Yeah. And there will be conversation with result in mind also. So not saying कि वो गलत है, but can I practice more of these also as well?
Okay, let's take just one more question, and I
And
think then
then, yeah.
we'll wrap it up, right? So, how did you let go of your fear or convince yourself of not conforming to the society? Baap re. Okay.
Thanks, Ahan, for asking. And I don't know if there was a one moment. I think it's been a very gradual process, and I've started enjoying it. So that's been, I think, one big thing for me, that I've started enjoying my work 2010-11 onwards only. So the other things never occurred to me. कि वो भी मतलब आता था बीच बीच में कभी कभी. And I did do my masters, but public administration. I did. I think I came back last year only. So I did it much later, instead after working for around 9-10 years. But अभी तो आई थिंक पिछले 5-6 साल में तो कभी फियर का वो आयोटा भी नहीं आया होगा. शुरू में कभी कभी जब ऐसे एक्सट्रीम चैलेंजेस होता था तो कभी कभी लगता था कि यार कुछ पार्ट टाइम कर लूं क्या. Because I was also but I also have that, like I can be a leadership coach as well, or a leadership trainer. And for Youth Alliance we've done like you do a 2-day thing, you get paid 1 lakh or like 1.5 lakh rupees for that. So we did that couple of times. और वो फिर लगता था कि if I do it independently I can earn a lot of money. तो वो आया था, ऐसा नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं आया. But then I think, and yeah, apart from once doing it, I've never done it. I never did it, and I think I'm a person who doesn't believe in plan B. I want to put all my eggs on basket, which all the VC and those will say it is not right way to think about life. But I fundamentally have always put all my eggs in one basket. कि भाई यही है. If I'm doing Indian School of Democracy, I will do it 100%. I'll do other things voluntary. I don't want to do anything else in other capacity. So yeah, now though I think there's a strong social structure, like I said. So there's yeah. Now the fear is of a very different kind. The fear is of how this work will do something in next decade. Is it doing something, or is it my ego that I'm satisfying to the work I'm doing? So now it is that kind of it. It is not about societal confirmation or those things. But अभी वो लगता है कि क्यों कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं, इससे क्या होगा. But I'm convinced about my work, but those questions still come in. कि डेमोक्रेसी में कुछ हो भी पाएगा क्या. इलेक्शन ईमानदारी से लड़े जा सकते हैं क्या? So those questions are there. Yeah. I don't know if I was making sense. I will drop my email ID, which
The plan B thing is also something I mostly work as well. मतलब पता नहीं, I've always felt if you have a plan B, then I think you're not going to give your 100% to plan A. I've always felt that. So generally, I don't also work with that mindset. It's been,
yeah.
I don't know, but I think it generally works out. So yeah, if you don't know, if you know that you don't have an option, I think you will make everything or do everything to make plan A work. I think that's what I feel. So yeah.
And if it is not happening, then it is meant not to happen. यार मतलब इतना क्या फंसी होना है.
फंस जाते हैं ना हम. We just get attached to the plan.
I am तो अभी now I'm very clear. If ISD shuts down in a year or two, I will be happy doing something else.
वही वो हम नहीं कर पाते ना. Generally, all of us get attached to whatever we are doing. तो वहाँ फंस जाते हैं.
Yeah, I think transitioning from Youth Alliance has been a great learning experience. Like not going back and interfering in anything. This transition one fine day, but after a process of like 8-9 months, that's been a good learning. कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चलती है आपके बिना भी. अगर कल को मैं ऐसे ही छोड़ दूंगा, वो चलनी होगी, चलेगी. मेरा इल्यूजन है कि मैं चला रहा हूँ, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But
I think one
people
of these debates I used to have, with one of our common friends, Shashank. So the idea of leadership, I used to, always debate. I used to say, as a job, your leader. I'm sure you remember Shashank, right? Okay. So I used to tell him, as a job, as a leader, your job is to create more leaders who can, work beyond you, not to create more followers. And we always used to have this debate, in college, and he never used to agree with me. But anyway, those are various philosophies that we've, grown up with. Okay, good, yeah, Prakhar. I mean, it was really good talking to you. I mean, I definitely enjoyed. I'm sure others did too. At one point, I had goosebumps. I will not share when, but yeah, I definitely had so much fun talking to you. I hope you also had some fun and found some value of the time you shared today. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing everything. And we'll share once it is up. You can share it with your network also once the recording is up and all of that. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think every time these conversations also become point of reflection, because today's conversation was not like a organizational work conversation. It was more around life conversation, and I think these conversations make me also reflect more about what's happening, what's the journey. So thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right
Bye.
then. I'll see you around. We'll talk
Yes.
separately.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.